Right now, noon, the Packers waiting to hear the status of their star defensive end after falling to the Broncos in Denver. Plus, the latest on the investigation into the deaths of Rob Reiner and his wife, who police now have in custody. This is News 3 Now at noon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Josh Breiter. Right now, the entire Platteville School District is closed for the day due to a cyber swatting incident. According to the school district, the decision was made out of an abundance of caution to ensure the safety of its staff and students. They did not provide any information on what the threat was or if it was to all schools in the district. We hope to have more information later in the day on News 3 Now and channel3000.com. Opening statements are set to begin today in the high-stakes and highly politicized trial of Judge Hannah Dugan. Judge Dugan faces federal charges of felony obstruction and concealing an individual from arrest, a misdemeanor. Prosecutors allege she helped an undocumented immigrant appearing in her courtroom evade arrests by federal agents in April. 14 jurors were selected Thursday, including 2 alternates. This trial has implications that reach far beyond Milwaukee with the authority of the federal government on state judges. As the trial gets underway this week, here are some key players. Presiding over the case is Judge Lynn Adelman, a former Democratic state lawmaker appointed by Bill Clinton. To fight allegations, Dugan has a team of 9 attorneys, including former U.S. Attorney and George Bush appointee Steve Bukibik, Dean Strang, who defended Stephen Avery, and former U.S. Solicitor General Paul Clement. The prosecution has 3 attorneys. At least 24 witnesses are set to take the stand. The state's Department of Agriculture says bird flu has been found in a Dodge County dairy herd. DACAP says they're working to respond in coordination with federal agencies, including the USDA, the FDA, and the CDC. The affected farm is quarantined, and cattle with symptoms are being separated for further treatment. The farm's products are pasteurized before entering the market. The USDA says there is no concern about any sale from the affected cows. The CDC says the risk to human health from the virus is low. Well, the Packers' winning streak is now over after losing to the Broncos Sunday, and they may be without their best defensive player for the season. Micah Parsons went down with an apparent knee injury in the third quarter. The Packers fear it is a torn ACL, which would be a season-ending injury for the defensive end. Meanwhile, there is some good news for the Packers. Wide receiver Christian Watson did not suffer any long-term injuries after getting hurt in the game. His status for this Saturday's game against the Chicago Bears will be determined later for this week. Kickoff for that game is set for 7:20. The Badger women's volleyball team is now heading to the Final Four after knocking off Texas last night, a team that swept them in the regular season. Playing in Austin, Badgers started off strong. Mimi Coiler slams one down to win the first set. Badgers take the next one, and then later, Trinity Shades is going to get the Badgers to match point. Wisconsin goes on to win this one, and they'll win the match 3-1. Mimi Coiler now leads the Badgers with 23 kills. Charlie Furbringer led with 57 assists. Badgers now face Kentucky this Thursday night at 8 in Kansas City. Let's get a first check of your first warm forecast now. Here's meteorologist Jacob Montesano, and we're beginning a little bit of a warm-up.
Yeah, temperatures are actually not brutally cold. Now, they're certainly still cold out there. Taking a look at the current temperatures, upper teens to lower 20s, but this is certainly a lot better than the highs over the weekend, which were only in the single digits. And as we take a look at the wind chills, this is the first time since Friday afternoon that they're consistently above 0, and they are expected to remain above 0 for the foreseeable future as the temperatures are going to be warming up the next couple of days. So looking at the forecast for today, we'll continue to see plenty of cloud cover, but basically no chance of snow. Maybe some light flurries here and there, but nothing too significant. Highs in the middle to lower 20s. Overnight, we will see some cold temperatures return, but again, not as cold as the last couple of nights, and wind chills are expected to stay above 0 in the single digits tonight. Lows will drop into the teens, and then tomorrow we are going to see the 30s possibly return, and we also will see a little bit more sunshine compared to today. Now, these 30s may turn into 40s along with our next solid chance of precipitation, and because the temperatures will be warmer, we'll see a little bit of rain and snow. So I'll talk more in detail about that and continue showing you that milder temperature forecast coming up a bit later.
All right, Jacob, we'll see you then. Thank you. Right now, an investigation is underway into the deaths of holiday icon Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle. According to online records from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, the couple's 32-year-old son, Nick, has been booked in connection with what the police are calling an apparent homicide. Rob Reiner is the son of the late comedic great Carl Reiner and initially gained fame playing Archie Bunker's son-in-law, Meathead, on CBS's All in the Family. He went on to direct dozens of iconic films, including This Is Spinal Tap, The Princess Bride, and When Harry Met Sally. Hollywood is mourning the tragic loss. Flowers mark Reiner's star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and the Princess Bride star, Carrie Elways, posted on Instagram a photo from the movie set with the caption, quote, "No words." A person of interest is detained in connection with the deadly shooting at Brown University and has been released after evidence pointed in a new direction. Officials are asking the public for any video around Brown University to help identify the person of interest in this weekend's deadly shooting. Saturday afternoon, someone fired dozens of rounds inside a classroom, killing 2 students and injuring at least 9 others. Following a tip, police detained one person at a hotel the next morning, only to release them late last night.
So over the course of the day, while we're following up leads elsewhere, those initial leads may come back positive or may come back negative. Here they came back negative.
University officials canceled all remaining classes and exams for the semester. Australia is reeling from a deadly terror attack on Jews celebrating the opening night of Hanukkah. At least 15 people were killed and dozens injured. It was the country's worst mass shooting in nearly 30 years. Police say the gunmen were a father and son. The father was shot and killed by authorities at the scene. The son is in the hospital in critical but stable condition. Officials say the younger suspect was previously on the radar of authorities, but it wasn't deemed a threat. He's now expected to face charges. Meanwhile, many in the Jewish community feared that it was only a matter of time.
Soaring levels of anti-Semitism and incitement, and in many ways this made this predictable. And we warned that this would happen, and yet you just don't expect it to happen. Because it's Sydney, Australia, it's Bondi Beach, it's our peaceful homeland here.
As investigators work to determine what drove the attack, the government is planning to immediately overhaul already tough national gun control laws. Still ahead for us on News 3 Now noon. If you have a question or concern about your plants or garden, now's the time to send us your questions via email to tips@channel3000.com. Lisa Briggs from the Bruce Company will join us later in the broadcast with the answers. But first, after the break, what films came out on top of the weekend box office? Plus, why White Castle is recalling more than 1,000 cases of its sliders.
The Powerball jackpot is still up for grabs. The prize for tonight's drawing now sits at an estimated $1.1 billion, the 6th largest in the game's history. The cash value is now more than $500 million. White Castle is recalling more than 1,000 cases of its frozen 4-count original sliders because some packages may include jalapeno cheese sliders, which contain undeclared milk and soy. The company warned that people with allergies could develop a serious or life-threatening reaction to the food. According to the FDA, White Castle was notified of the issue after one customer had a non-life-threatening reaction linked to consuming one of the jalapeno cheese sliders. Consumers are urged to return the product to the place of purchase for a refund. And Zootopia 2 slithered back up to the #1 spot over the weekend, pulling in over $26 million in North America. The Disney film has grossed more than $1 billion in global sales. Another sequel, Five Nights at Freddy's 2, was second with over $19 million. Wicked for Good keeps defying gravity, rounding out the top 3 after taking in more than $8 million this weekend. That's your CBS News Money Watch report. For more, log on to cbsmoneywatch.com. At the CBS Broadcast Center, I'm Carissa Lawson.
Here's a look at the current stock numbers at the noon hour. The Dow's down 70 points, NASDAQ down 88, and the S&P 500 also down this hour 22. Pam has today's farm numbers next, and Jacob is tracking the first warn forecast. Then later on Live at 4, I'll have the story about a Platteville family's annual Christmas lights tradition. See how they're spreading joy in the 608. Welcome back. Let's check in now with Pam Yankee for the Midwest Farm Report. Hi, Pam.
Hey, Josh, yeah, busy weekend, and I'm not talking about the Packers. Yesterday, kind of a precedent-setting situation when the Department of Ag called that press conference to announce the H5N1 positive case in Dodge County. Now, the reason I bring it up is there will be more work done this week on sequencing the genome of that virus. They want to know exactly what this is. Is it different than what we've seen? Because the herd was not exposed to outdoor activities, kind of just trying to figure out how a herd that had already been monitored and tested clean 5 times previous suddenly fell victim to this. Nothing that the farm did, that is for sure. We'll keep you posted. Let's talk a little bit more about weekend activities. The finalists have been announced for the 72nd Wisconsin Outstanding Young Farmer Awards weekend. That's going to happen the end of January. Congratulations from our backyard. Ryan and Megan White from Reedsburg. Derek and Miranda Nelson from Eau Claire. Alyssa and Travis Murray from Omro. Luke and Ashley Lisway from Malone, Tyler Bowden from Sturgeon Bay, and Perry and Cassandra Botten from New Franken. Those 6 are going to be in western Wisconsin, just outside of the Wausau area, coming up the end of February to see if they're going to represent the state on the national scene. And then it was a busy weekend for Wisconsin Farmers Union members that gathered together up in Wisconsin Dells. More than 100 pages of resolutions that they had to consider during their business session. Looks like they're going to focus a lot of attention on data centers in Wisconsin. One other thing that I thought was interesting about the Farmers Union Convention, they always are promoting buy local, know your farmer when it comes to food, and they lived it. In conjunction with the hotel, they featured locally produced goods that were incorporated into the menu through the course of the convention to make sure that they're not just talking the talk, but they're walking the walk. Wisconsin Farmers Union wrapped up their annual convention yesterday in Wisconsin Dells. All right, markets have not had much steam to go on again for a cold Monday. Remember, some of this comes down to end-of-the-year bookkeeping, too. Some of the brokerage firms just have to make sure that their paperwork's all in order. So unless we get some kind of big news event, I'm afraid that we are going to languish into the end of 2025. As far as dairy is concerned, a little action today. Barrel cheese gained. Actually, I take that back. Barrel cheese dropped a penny and a quarter down to $1.40. But 40-pound block cheese went up 3 cents on Monday to $1.38. The double-A butter, despite the baking influence, still down a penny and a half today at $1.46.5 per pound. So, like I said, a story that I'm going to be keeping an eye on this week for everybody. Josh, if they want to follow any new developments as far as that H5N1 case in Dodge County and the supporting industry, the grocery industry, the processing industry, we'll have that up at MidwestFarmReport.com if they kind of want to follow this story as it unfolds. First case, and we hope it's the last case for our Wisconsin dairy industry.
Yeah, certainly so. We'll be watching. Pam Yankee live for us this afternoon. Pam, thank you. Time now for your certified most accurate forecast in Madison with First Warn meteorologist Jacob Montesano. Hi, Jacob.
Hey Josh, here's a look at the 3 things you need to know. We are going to see these temperatures trending warmer. It's a little bit warmer today compared to yesterday. Still cold, but temperatures will continue to warm up from here. We do have a chance of some rain and snow for the middle of the week, but overall, there's not going to be a ton of precipitation going forward. Not a lot of rain or not a lot of snowfall. In fact, many days over the next 10 days will feature pretty dry conditions. So let's start with the chance of some rain and snow. We are going to see a mix of cloudy skies and clear skies the next couple of days, but the chance of any precipitation is pretty low for the rest of today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. Wednesday will feature the most sunshine, but then as we get towards Wednesday night, that's when our next solid chance of precipitation will occur. We'll see some rain develop late Wednesday night into Thursday morning, and once we get towards the afternoon Thursday, most of the rain will clear up, but then we'll see the temperatures actually fall throughout the day, so the system may end as snow later in the day Thursday into Thursday night, mostly clearing out for Friday, and then from there it looks like we're going to be pretty dry for next weekend into early next week. So taking a look at the precipitation chances, almost none until Wednesday night. Now, although precipitation looks very likely, because it's mostly rainfall, I don't expect to see a massive amount of travel impacts. Now, there could be some issues with the rain freezing over because temperatures will cool down beyond that, but we're not expecting much snowfall accumulation, and we're not going to see much freezing rain either. Certainly could create some of those travel headaches, but it's not going to be as bad as some of the past systems, certainly not that snow we had in November. And then after that system, we are looking pretty dry for the weekends. Now, looking at the temperatures during this time, they will cool down briefly for Friday, then warm up for Saturday, then cool back down for Sunday, and then be fairly steady for next week. And if you can believe it, this Wednesday right here is Christmas Eve, and it looks like we'll see high temperatures in the 30s. So not too cold. Obviously, it's not going to necessarily be warm, but pretty comfortable considering how cold it was this past weekend. Now, also with this upcoming weekend, big Packers game in Chicago. It's going to be at Saturday night at 7:20. The forecast for that looks pretty good. Again, all things considered, not going to be too cold. Very small chance of precipitation in Chicago, but for the most part, it looks like the Packers game won't feature anything too dramatic, considering some temperatures over the last couple of weeks have been in the teens and single digits. Now, looking at the temperature forecast beyond just the next 10 days, there is an increasing confidence that we're going to see above average temperatures, not just for our area, but a lot of the United States. Now, here in Wisconsin, it may not be quite as above normal as it will be for areas to the south, but we are expecting those high temperatures mostly in the 30s, and the average high this time of year is in the lower 30s, so those will be near to slightly above average, and that looks like what we're going to see. This does include the Christmas time. Now, again, as far as precipitation goes, we're not expecting much of it. There's not any systems in the forecast beyond that Wednesday night into Thursday system. And like I mentioned, that's going to feature mostly rainfall, not a lot of snow. The only concern would be the rain freezing over because temperatures will plummet, but only briefly. You notice the low Friday morning could be in the single digits, might see some below zero wind chills again, and the high will only be around 20. But then immediately Saturday, we're going to have highs back in the 30s, and next week will feature a lot of highs in the 30s. So just that one system as far as precipitation goes, but you know, if you have any travel plans for Christmas, this upcoming weekend and Christmas week does not look like it will be too impactful at all. Now, we'll continue bringing and updating the forecast accordingly, but it looks pretty calm going forward, especially considering how winter-like it's been the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster of a winter so far. We're not even to winter yet, so.
Yeah, and winter, I believe, will start December 21st, which is Sunday. And it's not going to be as much winter-like as it was before these last couple of weeks once we get to that point.
And that's Wisconsin for you. All right, Jacob, thank you. Just ahead of noon, Lisa Briggs from the Bruce Company is here answering your plant and garden questions. Email them to tips@channel. Oh, hello, Mr. Squirrel. Oh, he heard me. We're going to get those questions answered right after this. Tips@channel3000.com. Welcome back. Lisa Briggs from the Bruce Company is back answering your plant and gardening questions. Email them to tips@channel3000.com. And hopefully we don't get interrupted by Mr. Big Squirrel out there on the patio. That's a big sucker. He's been eating a lot.
Yeah, we've got one in the store.
That's what
it's
you were
the size
saying.
of a duck.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Makes me mental.
What do we have here today?
So this is a clivia, or sometimes people call it clivia, and it is from South Africa. It's a plant that we usually get in this time of year. Blooms with houseplants sort of winter into very early spring. We usually get orange ones, but every once in a while we'll get some other colors like a yellow or a peach. But now is the time, if you like them, to come in and pick one up.
Well, it's nice to have a little color because we're getting into that gray time of the year where I just need a little color in my life.
Indeed, and these will, they're pretty long lasting. And you treat them like you would, say, an amaryllis.
Okay.
You let it, let it flower, and then when it's done, put it outside for the summertime and then bring it back in. They need a little bit of a rest period. Highlight, cool temps, let it dry slightly between waterings.
Okay. All right, let's get to the questions here this afternoon. We're going to start with Elaine. Elaine sent us a picture of a 3-year-old plant saying it didn't blossom all summer, but after bringing it in for the fall, it is now blooming. She wants to know when it will finish blooming and when she should cut it back. And I showed you it during the break.
Yes, and it looks like a yellow hibiscus. It's a tropical plant, a tropical hibiscus, not the ones that are hardy here. To get it to bloom outside, I'm surprised it hasn't flowered in 3 years, but they do like plenty of sun and some fertilizer in the summertime. So right now I would put it in the sunniest window that you have and let it keep flowering. Hibiscus flowers last a day or two just. And if you see more flower buds, I would let it keep going. Let the surface dry between waterings, and if it's getting plenty of light, you might not need to cut it back. So just remove those flowers when they're spent and hold off any fertilizing until beginning of beginning of February, mid-February.
All right, I think we got about 30 seconds.
Okay,
We're going to
let's
get to
get to
Susan's question.
Okay.
Susan asks, can commercial package worm castings be added to the soil of indoor potted plants this winter? If so, how much? Will a burn kill the plants or release unsuspecting gnats if the worm castings plastic bag has been closed for months?
Okay, so there's a lot of controversy about worm castings inside. So it acts as a very slow release fertilizer and also conditions the soil. A lot of times people will use it on outdoor plants in the garden. Plants don't really need any fertilizer at this point in time, so it's not necessary. As far as releasing fungus gnats, I would say no.
Okay.
So I don't think it'll hurt, but I don't know that it will do much good either.
All right. Lisa,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go to Jacob now for a final check of your forecast.
Thanks, Josh. We are going to see temperatures much better going forward compared to this past weekend. Today, highs will be in the 20s and 30s the next couple of days, and for the most part, staying in the 30s with a few 20s here and there for the end of the forecast.
All right, Jacob, thank you. Thanks for watching News 3 Now at noon. Coming up next is The Bold and the Beautiful. Our next newscast is live at 4. There's Mr. Squirrel again. Mr. Squirrel, you can find us streaming 24/7 on Channel 3000+.